The dense Gabonese jungle stretches endlessly beneath the blinding African sun. Sunlight filters through ancient trees, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. Somewhere in this vast wilderness lives a creature who remembers a man he hasn't seen in 5 long years. In March 2010, Damien Aspinall treks through this unforgiving terrain. His heart pounds against his ribcage, not from exertion, but from a peculiar mix of hope and dread. He's searching for someone who may not remember him, who may even see him as a threat. Damien stops at the edge of a clearing, his whisper barely audible. Queeby! The name hangs in the humid air like a prayer. Years earlier, in the meticulously maintained grounds of Howlett's Wild Animal Park in Kent, England, a young western lowland gorilla was born into Damien's care. They named him Queeby. Unlike the thousands of visitors who observed the gorillas from behind safety barriers, Damien lived amongst them. He bottle-fed Queeby as an infant, wrestling with him as he grew, teaching him the ways of his kind through a language deeper than words. On cold English mornings, Queeby would often wake to find Damien sleeping beside him, the conservationist's dedication extending far beyond working hours. Their bond transcended the traditional boundaries between human and animal. It was something primal, something pure. By 2005, Queeby had grown into a powerful 5-year-old gorilla. His muscular frame and intelligent eyes betrayed his potential. He wasn't meant for captivity, regardless of how spacious or humane. Damien knew this. The Aspinall Foundation had established a gorilla reintroduction program in Gabon, a country whose western coast meets the Atlantic Ocean, where dense rainforests provide ideal habitats for gorillas to live as nature intended. The hardest part was knowing I was saying goodbye, Damien would later confess, not for a week or a month, possibly forever. The journey from England to Gabon was fraught with risk. Transporting a gorilla across continents required precision planning. Sedated and confused, Queeby traveled in a specialized crate. His familiar world of Kent disappeared, replaced by the wild heart of Africa. Upon arrival, Queeby faced the ultimate test: adaptation. Could a gorilla raised by humans survive in the wilderness? Critics of the reintroduction program pointed to previous failures, instances where gorillas had perished, unable to navigate the brutal realities of wild living. Would Queeby become another statistic, another well-intentioned failure? The first months proved critical. Though released into a protected reserve, Queeby needed to learn hunting and foraging skills, develop proper social interactions with other gorillas, and most importantly, avoid dangerous predators. The team monitored him from a distance, intervening only when absolutely necessary. By December 2005, Queeby had disappeared deeper into the forest. The monitoring team lost track of him. Some feared the worst, that Queeby had succumbed to the dangers of the wild. Others maintained hope that his disappearance meant integration, that he had found his place among wild gorillas. For 5 years, Damien carried the weight of not knowing. Had he sentenced Queeby to death, or had he given him freedom? On that fateful day in March 2010, Damien returned to Gabon with a camera crew. Despite warnings that male gorillas grown into adulthood often become aggressive, even toward former caretakers, Damien insisted on searching for Queeby. Reports had surfaced of a gorilla matching Queeby's description living near the river that bordered the release site. "Wild male gorillas can be extraordinarily dangerous," whispered Jean, the local guide accompanying Damien. "They've been known to attack boats that venture too close to shore." Damien nodded but continued peering into the dense vegetation as their small boat drifted down the river. The camera captured his anxious expression, the lines around his eyes deeper than 5 years earlier. "Queeby!" Damien called, his voice breaking the natural chorus of the rainforest. Silence. Then movement in the bushes. The foliage parted to reveal a magnificent silverback gorilla. At 10 years old, Queeby had transformed from the playful youngster Damien remembered into a commanding adult male, his back now bearing the distinctive silver fur that marked his maturity. The boat edged closer to shore. The camera operator whispered warnings. Adult male gorillas can weigh up to 400 pounds and possess the strength of several men combined. If Queeby perceived them as threats, the encounter could turn deadly in seconds. "Queeby!" Damien called again, softer this time. The gorilla's eyes, dark pools reflecting intelligence and curiosity, locked onto Damien's. A moment of tension stretched between them. Recognition or aggression? There was no way to know which would win. Then something extraordinary happened. Queeby's powerful frame relaxed. He made a low, rumbling sound, a gorilla's greeting. Damien stepped from the boat onto the muddy shore, disregarding all safety protocols. The distance between man and gorilla closed. "It's me," Damien said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's your old friend." Queeby approached, not with the charging threat displays typical of male gorillas protecting territory, but with gentle curiosity. When he reached Damien, he didn't attack. He embraced him. Massive arms encircled the conservationist in a gesture so tender it brought tears to the eyes of the filming crew. Queeby remembered. After 5 years in the wild, after growing into the full power of his species, he remembered the human who had once been his family. Damien ran his hands through Queeby's fur, checking his condition. "You look magnificent," he whispered. "You've done so well." For hours they sat together on the riverbank. Queeby refused to leave Damien's side, occasionally grooming him, picking through his hair in a gesture of affection and acceptance. When Damien shared fruit brought from the boat, Queeby took it gently from his hands, their fingers touching in a moment that bridged two worlds. As afternoon faded toward evening, Queeby made a series of vocalization calls. From the forest emerged 4 female gorillas and several young ones, Queeby's family. He had not only survived, but thrived, becoming the leader of his own group. In a gesture that stunned everyone present, Queeby introduced his human friend to his gorilla family, allowing them to approach Damien without displaying any protective behavior. "He wanted me to meet his family," Damien later explained. "It was as if he was proud, showing me what he had accomplished." When darkness approached, Damien needed to return to camp. "I have to go now," he told Queeby, knowing the gorilla couldn't understand his words, but hoping he might sense his meaning. Queeby followed the boat along the shoreline for as long as possible. When the river widened and he could follow no further, he sat watching as the distance between them grew. The next morning, the team returned to the same spot, uncertain if Queeby would appear again. Not only was he waiting, but he had brought his entire family closer to the river's edge, seemingly anticipating Damien's return. For 3 days, Damien visited Queeby, each encounter reinforcing the extraordinary nature of their connection. On the final day, knowing it might truly be their last meeting, Damien spent hours simply sitting with the gorilla who had once been like a son to him. "You've found your place," Damien told him. "This is exactly where you belong." The success of Queeby's reintroduction challenged conventional wisdom about captive-raised animals. It validated the work of the Aspinall Foundation, which has since released over 60 gorillas back into the wild. In December 2012, trackers discovered that Queeby had expanded his family further. He had integrated fully with neighboring gorilla groups, his bloodline continuing in the forests where his species had evolved for millennia. Damien Aspinall continues his conservation work, fighting for the protection of gorilla habitats across Central Africa. Logging operations, poaching, and disease threaten these magnificent creatures. The western lowland gorilla remains critically endangered, their numbers having declined by more than 60% over the last 3 decades. But somewhere in the forests of Gabon, Queeby's descendants roam free, living testaments to a bond that transcended species. Their very existence represents hope that humans can not only protect, but restore what has been damaged. And perhaps when the wind rustles through the trees just right, Queeby still remembers the man who gave him two precious gifts: life in captivity, and then, more importantly, freedom in the wild. In Queeby's story lies a profound truth. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go, trusting that what was built together is strong enough to endure the separation. Sometimes the most powerful reunion isn't one that lasts forever, but one that confirms a single, essential fact: that we were always connected across time and distance, even when we couldn't see each other. And in that connection lies the answer to an ancient question: what truly separates humans from animals? Perhaps less than we've always thought. If you enjoyed it, then watch our next video shown on screen.